Good evening, everybody. It's another strange night. We're going to talk about some strange things, particularly new worship laws that are coming in from nowhere, on the rise through birth rates. Pope also is venerated by recent presidents, the current Pope or the Pope Francis. We'll find out soon. Aliens are real, he says, by the way. Popular Christian ufologist and apologist realizes the dead are dead. I think by this program, to be honest. Eric Burlison says he got permission to visit some of these spiritual strange sites. And the Collins elite truth is revealed tonight. And is there a future Trump speech on the horizon? Well, I don't know. But stay tuned. We're going to talk about that.
The system is totally rigged and broken.
Demon spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxy that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet.
It is now 85 seconds to midnight. This is the closest the world has ever been to midnight.
I still think these are what people call angels. I'm dying to know what they've got to say.
Pretty severe suffering brings them.
These entities have the ability to appear in any form.
Welcome back to another Strange Normal. My name is Bradley, and we talk about the stranger things that happen in your normal life to give you a biblical understanding of what is going on. And there's a lot going on, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are streaming on YouTube, by the way, and hit that like button so you know when things like this happen. Strangenormal.org is the website that we use. We're also have another site coming up here pretty soon. It's going to be, it's called, man, it slipped my mind. OrionMedia.tv. That's going to be the nonprofit that we're producing to get this thing rolling, because we're doing a lot of stuff. We're doing a lot of live presentations. We're doing a lot, not that this is a live presentation, but we're doing in-person presentations as well. And we are trying to get this message out as fast as possible. We got pocketbooks even somewhere in here. If I could find through all this stuff in here, maybe I'll pull one out while we're seeing some of these videos. But we got a lot of stuff for you tonight, and I want to catch you up on this stuff. Make sure you hit that like button if you're on YouTube. It really does help. All right, so what's going on with this recent discovery that all of a sudden, oh yeah, let's use worship laws and bring things back about the blue laws that have happened? Well, you know that this came about through Charlie Kirk's new book, because everyone's all of a sudden saying, oh yeah, blue laws. Hey, that's cool. We should use that to do more religious enforcement, which is unconstitutional. But this is all part of Revelation 13. We know this is coming down the pipe. Things like this have been tested already. Not so much in worship as it is in how things are enforced. Read between the lines of what I'm about to say. Some things I can't say on YouTube platform here. Things have been enforced and complied with in the past. And that was a test to see how things are going to go when the government says things that perhaps they shouldn't enforce, but they do anyway. This is going to happen again, folks. That's Revelation 13. In a nutshell, we'll look at that in just a second. Let's look at this Sunday idea in a nutshell. This is a straight Straight out of Babylon. All right, let's go.
A 2025 study by the renowned Barna Group finds that the number has dropped to 46%. And when it comes to family growth, the U.S. birth rate hit a record low in 2024. To counter this trend, the Saving America, Saving the Family report encourages a marriage boot camp for struggling families. A uniform day of rest for American workers is also on the list, an idea that would build upon blue laws that limit alcohol sales in some states.
We recognize that one of the most important aspects of being human is not only working hard and working diligently, but having a day set apart where you can unplug from the regular grind of the work week and simply be present to rest, to be with your family, to worship if you're a religious person, and to really reconnect with yourself and with your values.
Waters hopes the federal government will seriously consider these recommendations as a way to refocus politics around saving and supporting the American family.
There is simply no greater good to invest in, and that should be our top priority.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something? I mean, we haven't heard this for a while now, 10, 15 years. It hasn't really been aggravated that much, but now it's happening again. And this time it's coming from the same people who advise the government on this kind of stuff. What is this? What does the Bible say about this stuff? Well, it says this. This is what it says. This is from Revelation 13. If you ever read this chapter, it's fascinating. It's got a lot of symbology in it, but I want you to notice one thing that it says over and over again. This chapter is all about worship. By the way, this is the 666 chapter. This is the part that says, and the number of the beast, the number of his name was 666. People get stuck on that. But they forget all this other times in this chapter where it says, this is about worship, 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 worship. Don't worship the beast. Don't worship the beast. Don't worship his image. Don't worship anything they give. And then right at the very end, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, 666. This is the thing we should be concerned about. Not identifying. I mean, that's important, but what is it this thing does that causes so many Christians to lose their salvation? It's worship. They worshiped incorrectly. I mean, think back. What were the sons of Adam and Eve doing in that one story? Cain and Abel, right? What happened to Abel? He died at the hands of his brother who didn't worship correctly because his brother got upset about him. What's going to happen at the end? Lots of people are going to get upset because they didn't worship correctly and then kill the people that are worshiping correctly. It's cycles. Exactly the same cycle is going to happen. So that's Revelation 13 in a nutshell. That's the big deception that's coming out at the end, but there's another one that is coming out as well. What is that other one? Let me show you. This is the other one that's coming out. It's Revelation 16. We talk about it a lot on this broadcast, on this YouTube channel, because I think it's not talked about enough. I don't think many pastors even want to talk about it because they think it's too weird, but that's a design of the devil to do that. Look at this, right down at the very end here. It talks about this. It says, and I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs coming out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. Beyond the scope of what we're talking about tonight, but I'll explain that sometime later. For they are spirits of demons performing signs which go out to the kings of the world, kings of the earth, and to the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. What in the world does that all say? Well, essentially what it means is these demons, because that's what they are, they go out and they try to convince people of what? Well, they try to convince people to do wrong, essentially, to battle God. So that this is the spiritualism that's coming upon the world to do that. And we've already identified it because it's easy to identify if you look at what's currently happening. This is what this whole channel is about. I'm going to show you that as we go through this show tonight. But we got a lot of current events that are actually happening too. So I'm going to integrate that for all of our current and regular viewers as well. This is very important. So let's first look at how Obama is doubling down on this idea of aliens. This is phenomenal, folks. This is really bizarre. 15, 20 years ago, if a president stepped out and said this, people would be like beside themselves. But right now, people are like, that's okay. All right, watch this.
So I want to do a little bit of a lightning round here because it's not often I'll get access to the President of the United States. So a couple questions here. Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51?
Area 51. There's no underground facility unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
Where are the aliens?
Okay, so yeah, you can see that this is a new clip of Obama on a podcast. I think it's actually he's integrating it with somebody that he knows and he respects or trusts, because he's talking about this stuff very openly. He's like, are aliens real? Oh yeah, they're real. Well, wait a second. How do you know they're real if you aren't viewing them? If you don't have a telescope that's looking at them? Are they coming down and they're talking to you? And who are they talking to? The Department of Energy? I mean, why didn't the host go and ask more information about this if this is such a big deal? When Obama, when did you first hear that this was real? Was it just mentioned in paperwork, just in passing in one of your meetings? Oh yeah, by the way, President, the aliens are real. You got to start saying that now. Say what? What is going on here? It's so casual. It's strange. But this is strange normal. That's all I got to say about that. So I want you to hold that for a second and then think about what he says next about the Pope. It all goes together. All right, listen to this.
So I want to do a little bit of a... who is there a person that you most want to meet that you haven't met yet?
I'll be honest with you. Being president, or even being an ex-president, I can kind of meet everybody, so I've met a lot of folks.
Yeah.
The person who I have not yet met, and that I'm looking forward to meeting, and I hope I get an opportunity sometime in the future, is the new Pope, who is from Chicago and a White Sox fan. I had the pleasure of getting to know Pope Francis pretty well, and he was legit. You know, there's some figures. He's one. The Dalai Lama was another. Is another who. They're how you hope they are. They kind of walk the walk.
Yeah.
And my sense of this new Pope is he's cut from that cloth.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who, you know, worked in places, you know, that really needed help, and what wasn't just preaching from a pulpit, but getting his hands dirty, trying to help people. So I'm looking forward to talking to him.
I think we can. I think
at some point I'll probably have it. Yeah.
What world leader did you like the most and the least?
Okay, so let's stop it right there for a second. I want to think about this for a second. Did you see, and these two clips were butted right against each other. So right when he talked about, hey, are there aliens? Yeah, they're aliens, but they're not in the Area 51, and there's no hidden bases. And by the way, I'd like to meet the Pope. You know, if we can do that, that'd be great. He's a great guy, and he has great things. That's what the former president Barack Obama was saying. So what happens to your brain when you see something startling and strange, and then you associate it with, oh yeah, by the way, the Pope is a great guy too. Aliens, Pope, aliens, what's going on here? I'm just saying something odd is happening here, and they're announcing softly that, oh yeah, by the way, don't be afraid and don't be concerned if there is something else out there sometime that might appear. It could appear, and if it does, you know, the Pope's got your back. He's a great guy. It's not a good idea. All right, and of course, a new UAP, if you don't know what that is, it's an unidentified aerial phenomenon video. There's been a slew of them that the Pentagon has released recently, and they're saying, hey, we got these fireballs in the sky. What could that be? Fireballs in the sky that look like little stars of the heavens that are floating around up there and breaking physics. We think they're UFOs. We think they're aliens. we think that there's something else. Oh, yeah. And when they appear to you, according to former contractors and builders for government agencies that have come out on podcasts, specifically Chris Bledsoe and his family, when these things appear, they appear as Egyptian deities, heathen Egyptian deities, specifically Hathor, who has said, my name has been many things from many places. And we've come to tell you that there's big destructions coming. And those big destructions are happening. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself, but this is really phenomenal stuff. But this is what he says. This is what's next in that.
Tonight, two newly released pieces of alleged U.S. military footage are sparking a lot of fresh questions about unidentified objects in the sky. So the videos were said to be obtained from military archives and released to the public by investigative journalists Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. They say both recordings show government-filmed objects that were officially designated as UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, and they weren't meant to be seen by the public. Now, both videos were recorded by MQ-9 Reaper drones, and both show objects making movements that Corbell says defy basic physics. The first video dates back to August of 2012. It's recorded over the Persian Gulf using infrared sensors. It shows three objects moving in what appears to be a triangular formation, and at one point, one of the objects falls back, and it suddenly accelerates forward again, kind of like in a slingshot motion to rejoin the other two. Weird. The second video, more recent, 2021, recorded during a U.S. drone mission over southern Syria. And in this footage, you have a single object that's tracked by a weapons-grade targeting system. Now, it moves steadily at first, then suddenly changes direction, it accelerates out of frame at what analysts describe as extreme speed. There's no visible propulsion. NewsNation has not independently verified the authenticity of these videos. The Pentagon has not confirmed them or even commented. But what are we actually seeing in these videos? Nick Pope's here, investigated UAPs for the UK Ministry of Defense. Nick, good to see you. These the real deal?
Yes, I think so. Jeremy and George, the journalists concerned, have a proven track record of getting authentic Pentagon footage into the public domain. And when you see these sorts of things just move in a straight line at a constant speed, sure, you can say balloons, birds. But as you said in your intro, the Pentagon itself put this into the UAP category, unidentified anomalous phenomena. And that's what we're looking at.
Interesting. Okay, so there's a lot more to this clip, and he talks a little bit more about, how they could be military grade weapons, and they could be military craft and all this, but essentially he says, I don't think so. And I'm not opposed. I just want to put this out there. I'm not opposed to them being military things that we have that we haven't told other places that we do have. The problem I have with it is what they're seeing up there is breaking physics. These videos don't break physics, but they are craft that we haven't seen before. And if they are not United States military craft, then they are definitely not craft at all, if you know what I'm saying. They're not ships. These things are the fireballs in the sky, the UAP, these things that we've been talking about on this program, that we've shown videos about constantly. This is going to come out here in a couple years, I believe. We're just being prepped for this right now. And if we have a real ability to get behind this right now and do something about it before people are deceived by it. Because here's the problem. What's going to happen is this is the entering wedge into the idea that we have helpers out there that are helping us. Our dead loved ones are here to help us, and they've been watching this whole time. That's what's going to happen. But this is the wedge that enters in, because they can't just appear and say, hey, we're demons, or hey, I'm your dead relative, because that would appear a little bit occultic, right? Something else is happening here. And they're presenting themselves as, we are here watching over you. We are the watchers. We are here to help. And you just now have the technology to be able to see us. Be very, very careful. And by the way, we do this every day, every week. So if you want to help us, go to patreon.com/strangenormal, and you can help us. Look at the link in the bottom in the comments below, and you can join our Patreon, which will also give you access to our private community on Discord. And there you can watch as we do the research on this every day. We got so much stuff we cover. We don't just cover this. We cover the natural disasters. We cover the current events, the worship laws that are being put into Congress, and all this other stuff that's happening right now. It's very interesting. Okay, let's get back into it. We got a quote coming up here. This is an interesting one too. That's not it. This is Roger Morneau. Roger Morneau actually says this stuff, and then I'll show you a quote.
Priest told us we talked quite a while, and then he said, "Could I have a little bit more of your time? I want to do something very fascinating." He says, "The grand plan, the Master's grand plan for harvesting the nations, for harvesting the multitudes of the earth into His cause, just before the close of the great controversy between the forces of good and evil." So we continued, after we expressed ourselves that we're deeply interested to know more about the activities of the spirits. And he said it's going to be done in a unique manner. This grand plan is going to take people are going to eat the stuff. Because it says demon spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet unless something seriously proper is done to avoid it.
So notice how he was vague with that. Seriously proper is done to avoid it. We're going to find that out here pretty soon. But what he said was demon spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies. What does the science always say? Oh, there's so many things out there. It's so wide, so vast. How can we not know that there's, how is it that there's not life out there? This soundbite is going like viral over every production, it seems, every news broadcast. And so it's going to lull people into the idea that, oh yeah, if something does appear, I'm not too shocked by it. I'm not going to look into it. I'm not going to think that it might be spiritual. I'm not going to think that it might be deception. Don't worry about it. But this is the plan. This is the plan that's always been in plan. And this initiates the plan into the idea that the dead are still alive. That's what's happening. So this is the quotes that I wanted to show you real quick. Now, this is from a book I've been reading called The Great Controversy. This is from page 556. In the days of the Hebrews, there was a class of people who claimed, as do the spiritualists of the day, to hold communion with the dead. But these familiar spirits, as these visitants from other worlds, were called. What were they calling themselves? Well, they were deceiving the early Hebrews by saying that we are, what? Visitants from other worlds with an S. I got in trouble one time. Someone put a comment on and said, "You're deceiving everyone. They aren't talking about worlds like globes, other planets. What they're talking about is realms." Because she said world in this next quote. This next quote says, and this is in the future, it says that when they have been led to believe that the dead actually return to communicate with them, Satan causes those who appear and went into the graves unprepared. They claim to be happy in heaven and even occupy exalted positions there, and thus the error is widely taught that there's no difference made between the righteous and the wicked. The pretended visitants from the world of the spirits, what are they pretending to do? Very careful what the exact verbiage is here. The pretended visitants from the world of the spirits. So they're pretending to be visitants from the world of the spirits. This is what's happening in the future. Sometimes utter cautions and warnings which prove to be correct, and then as confidence is gained, they present doctrines which directly undermine the faith in the scriptures. Very, very interesting. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. If that's the case, then we need to get this message out as fast as possible because we have a chance to get under prophecy before something happens. That has been the push from this channel's beginning. For 4 or 5 years we've been operating and doing this. I've been thinking about this for over 15, 20 years. But, if I can't get well-known ministries, I'm not going to name names. If I can't get people to get under this and do this, then I'm going to have to do it myself. And that's what this channel's all about. Get behind me, folks. Let's do this together. So there's popular Christian UFOlogists, apologists that show that this UFO idea isn't biblical, but they've pushed the idea that the dead are still alive. That's my concern. And one of them has been, I'm going to name names here, L.A. Marzulli. But recently, he changed his mind on this. This was fantastic. And I think it has something to do with what we're doing here on this channel, because we're presenting the information and showing, particularly Joe Jordan's material, which he's a former MUFON director that has shown that these things like to appear as dead people that to get you to do something that is against the Bible. And he said, you know what? If there is a dead person that appears, you got to rebuke it and get out of there. I say don't even talk to it. I say you start praying, you get out of here. Don't even have anything to do with that thing. Anyway, this is what Marzulli said about this. And for the record, I don't watch any of this stuff. I want to keep everything from the Bible. And so I don't listen or read anything from any other apologist on this. Understand this. But this happened to come across my feed, or someone sent it to me. I forget which. All right, let me show you to you right now.
First of all, any type of departed spirit is going to be a fallen angel or a demon pretending to be the particular person. So if you see your dead grandmother appearing to you in your room, and she looks just like her and she sounds so sweet and you loved your dead grandmother, and then she's there, trust me, it's not your dead grandmother.
Amen.
It's not. It doesn't work that way. You are being deceived. Rebuke first, ask questions later.
All right. He goes on and says a lot of the things I probably don't agree with. But particularly talking about how the rapture might happen, and it might some very big confusion on the rapture. But I'm not going to go into it. But essentially, what's happening here is that the message needs to get out. If the dead are appearing to you, be very, very careful, because this is demonic. The dead are dead, according to Ecclesiastes 9:5. So let's go into understanding that real quick, because I know I cover this quite a bit, but I think it's very important. Numbers 25, 1-3 says sacrifices to their gods. This is what Israel was doing. The people ate and bowed down to their gods. What else were they doing? Well, they were worshiping spirits of demons. This is exactly what it was they were doing. This is out of order. Pardon me. But talking about that same story, they were sacrificing to demons is what they were doing. This is what it says in 1 Corinthians. Because when you sacrifice to false gods, these false gods were demonic entities. Well, what were the demonic entities doing? They were also presenting themselves as dead people. They joined themselves to Baal of Peor and sacrificed made to the dead. Well, you don't just sacrifice to the dead if they aren't appearing to you. Something has to say, hey, by the way, I need food, and you got to sacrifice to me, and I need this for whatever reason. Just give it to me. They wouldn't come up with this on their own. So these dead things appeared and said, give me sacrifice. I am your dead, long-lost relative, mother, something that I've ascended into godhood, and I've been watching over you. This is coming back. All this Egyptian nonsense. So that one quote was very important. So is this trend continuing? This UFO idea continuing? Well, it is. In fact, Representative Eric Burlison has said in these last couple of weeks that he has gotten permission to go visit some of these sites that apparently have something else on them. Listen to what he says next, because this just pushes the agenda as an evangelist type would about this material, this new religion, I guess you could say. Watch this.
One of the asks that I've put into the White House, and I think that they legitimately are trying to make happen, is a series of visits to some of these locations, right? Like I have obviously been given throughout this investigation locations that where it's reported that that these materials or objects or craft exist, or the bodies exist, or the archive exists, and we have. That's where that sits. We've given the DOD a list. So the White House has told the DOD to make it happen. I mean, to Trump's credit, as a disclosure. So that's the extent at which they've been involved. Is literally just saying to the Department of Defense that, hey, Burlison, we're backing his request. Do what you can to make it happen. And so I'm very grateful for that. It's been very difficult to make happen.
You still got some obstruction.
Yes. So we still, I mean, it's got to go all the way down to the end of the fingertip level. And so but at the top of the DoD is doing what they can to try to organize this. And it may have to be slimmed down at the beginning. So one of the first, right now we're looking at following all of this process to have at least just myself go to one site. And at least that's what they're asking. And then once we see that process work and have figured out the path, then we'll repeat that to the other locations and include other members of Congress. But at this time, to do a scaled down visit is what we're looking at. And eventually we will go to Area 51 as one of those locations, although really just for nostalgia. From everyone that I've spoken to on this topic that has any kind of information, they say that that's not where the goods are not there. So there's a lot of neat things to see out there. And I think I think it's just completing the whole puzzle. It's something that we definitely have to go see. But I've been told that that's not where you're going to find the evidence.
So big things are coming. Personally, what I believe about this whole stuff is not that these things are aliens. Obviously, I don't believe that we're going to see dead, good creatures that God created on Earth here. I don't think we're going to see dead demons that God created. I don't think we're going to see dead anything. By the way, demons was a word made up by like the New International Version. What it is devils. Go back to the KJV and understand this, because devils is just another word for fallen angel. But people kind of separate these two things. Very, very odd understanding of this. But essentially what's going on here is that these people say that they have stuff that is physical. How do we know that this might happen? Well, if you look back in the Bible, you will see that in Egypt, the magicians were able to produce very physical things. These physical things that they were able to produce were tricks, but they were at least tricks enough to confuse humans and animals, because we're told the snakes that the staff, when Moses put down the staff, the magicians also put down their staff, it turns into snakes, but the snake ate their staff. So at least something is going on here that makes it seem that God is more powerful than these magicians. And at some point around the lice, they weren't able to reproduce the same things that God was able to do. And they said, no, this God is more powerful than the ones we know, the ones that are producing this stuff. So don't be surprised if you see what I like to call meat puppets that Satan is producing to try to make it seem as if he has life, or demonic entities out there that are doing silly things, or craft that were put together by non-human hands. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. It's not out of the realm of the Bible. However, I would be very, very careful in looking into this stuff any further. So, has this been... I want to give you a little history of what's going on here, because this event will be a big event that is coming upon the world. Where has this all started? I want to bring you back to Jack Parsons real quick. And there's a YouTube video that did a great job presenting the strange history of America and this program that I'm going to show you clips from. And we'll talk about that for a second. This is from the YouTube channel America's Strangest History. Let's look at this real quick. It's very interesting.
Before we dive into that 1972 seance, we need to understand how we even got there. Why were U.S. intelligence officials, people trained to fight communism and launch covert operations, why were they sitting in a room with a witch in the first place? To answer that, we have to go back half a century to a rocket scientist who merged rockets with ritual magic. Jack Parsons. Parsons wasn't your average rocket scientist that even exists. He was co-founder of what would become NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. He's been called the father of modern rocketry in America. By night, Parsons indulged his rather unorthodox interests. He was the head of the lodge of Aleister Crowley's occult order in Pasadena, California, the Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO for short. Crowley was a big deal. He was called the wickedest man in the world by the British press. He practiced ceremonial magic. In 1918, he performed something called the Amalatra working. It's a ritual he believed could open a door to another realm. From that ritual, he sketched a being he named Lamb. It's a bulbous-headed, dark-eyed figure that looks eerily similar to the modern conception of a gray alien. Being the ambitious person he was, Parsons tried to take it a step further. In 1946, alongside a young science fiction writer named L. Ron Hubbard, he carried out the Babylon working. It was a series of sex-magical rituals that were meant to manifest an elemental spirit or moon child. Now, they were attempting to summon an otherworldly force into this world. Now, this sounds nuts, but the timing is uncanny. Just months later, the modern UFO era explodes. It started with Kenneth Arnold's flying saucers in 1947, followed by the Roswell crash. The Collins Elite, an ultra-secret working group that we're about to discuss. They would later see this not as coincidence, but as cause and effect.
All right, so let's get into that real quick, because I think this is very important. That was a really condensed version, and I'm cutting pieces out of this program because there's some of it I had to go through. I just couldn't legitimize. I couldn't prove that the government had gone to a seance. I couldn't prove that, it might have been after hours. It might have been something that happened, but there's no paperwork behind it. So I try to keep everything on this program as legit as possible. If I can prove it, I'm going to present it to you. But through FOIA, through whatever it takes to show something else is happening here. But if I can't prove it, it's going to go in the Discord of our private community. Well, they'll research it, they'll find it more and get to view it, but it won't go on the legitimate portion of this YouTube channel. I don't want to be demonetized, and I want to present you with as much truth as possible. So that was the history of a little snippet of the history of Jack Parsons and all this stuff. What is the Collins Elite? This is something that's come up quite a bit. In fact, when I went to, I don't know if you've heard of Lou Elizondo. If you watched my documentary, which kind of started this whole thing, called Starfall, it's a kind of a mini doc, and go to starfallmovie.com, and you can watch what led up to us talking about this. And one of the characters that I follow is Lou Elizondo, a former counterintelligence Pentagon official, which left his Pentagon seat to go talk about this because, and we're going to discuss this tonight, because his leadership were Christian and they wouldn't let him discuss it. Anyway, he left this and he wanted to discuss this more. And so he said, one of my leadership was a part of the Collins Elite. What are the Collins Elite? Well, let's talk about it. Let me show you real quick. In fact, we're going to dig into it.
Inside the halls of the Pentagon and the CIA, rumors started to spread. What if UFOs weren't what they seemed? What if this is all just an elaborate ruse? A handful of people, some in Air Force intelligence, some in the CIA, others scattered across military research units, they quietly broke away from the standard aliens from space hypothesis. A group of government insiders believed Parsons, Crowley, and others like them opened doors that should have stayed closed. This inner circle came to be known as the Collins Elite. Now, officially, you won't find them listed on any organizational chart. You won't find the doors at Langley labeled Collins Elite. The group operated like a secret think tank. It was purposefully hidden in the shadows of other projects. We recently pulled out a video on one of these other projects, MK Often. Check it out if you get a chance. The Collins Elite reached a radical conclusion. They didn't think UFOs were spaceships from Zeta Reticuli. They believed that they were manifestations of demonic intelligences, specifically fallen angels disguising themselves as extraterrestrials. To the Collins Elite, alien abductions weren't medical experiments with the standard anal probes and all that. They were ritual initiations in disguise. Contactee messages about peace and cosmic brotherhood weren't alien wisdom. They were false gospels intentionally seeded by deceptive spirits. Hold up, because we haven't even gotten to the most chilling part. The Collins Elite saw themselves as America's hidden guardians against spiritual invasion. Kind of reminds me of the superhero Doctor Strange, protecting the world from unseen spiritual forces. But as we'll see, their mission was more dangerous than they could have ever imagined, and it was about to spiral out of control.
All right, we're going to pause it right there just for a second. So I don't believe that the Collins Elite have anything spiritual like that, like Marvel. But I think that it's he's painting a picture showing that these group of people were very spiritual. They were spiritually minded. They studied their Bible, and they said, hey, look, what we see out of the characteristics of these classified materials is that something else is happening here, and we think it's demonic. we have the caricature of what's happening here, and we don't want to have anything to do with it. And by the way, I got to tell you this. I'm not going to reveal any names here, but while I was away at one of the conventions I was at, I had either a current or former military person come up to me and say, hey, let's have dinner together. I want to talk to you. I'm being very careful how I say this because I don't want to reveal anybody's name or identification. But what they said to me was, you're doing a great job. By the way, Roger Morneau's video is being passed around the highest levels of the Pentagon. The highest levels of people in our leadership of the government know about Roger Morneau and what he says about UFOs and what he says about all this demonic activity. That's really fascinating, especially if you're, I know we have a couple people that are related to Roger Morneau that watch the program here, and your grandfather did a fantastic job. I just got to say, it's his prayer ministry and his testimony has made a huge impact on the United States. And I am confident of that. But that was a surprise to me that had been passed around quite a bit. And you're going to see shadows of that as we go and continue this program that we're watching together here. Let's continue through this real quick. Oh, before we do that, let's look at this. This is from Luke 21:11. This says that fearful sights and great signs from the heaven that will appear in heaven right now, but will in future. It says, and there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilence, and there will be fearful sights and great signs in the heavens. I don't think that's just asteroids. I think we're going to see things that we have yet to understand that make some hearts fear or fail in fear. And yet there's also, see if this is another one. Oh, this is the clip. We're going straight into it. All right, so this is the next clip. Watch this.
The Collins elite didn't just fear aliens, they feared what the aliens claimed to offer, and they believed those claims were lies. Their core conviction, the greatest danger wasn't physical invasion, it was spiritual deception. Here's what they feared and how they planned to fight back. They feared a false messiah, a cosmic savior deception. The aliens would present themselves as benevolent saviors. They'd offer cures and cosmic spirituality. Now that promise would lure humanity away from Christian doctrine towards a new religion of the stars. This new religion was, in effect, a New Age version of Christ, in alien form. They also feared mass miracles and holographic prophecies. The governments, or occult proxies, would stage spectacular appearances, like Jesus in the sky, alien councils, oracles lighting up major cities, all via holograms, satellites, or psychotronic projection, maybe a combination of all three. These miracles would validate the deception. It would lower our defenses and draw people en masse. They were afraid of the power of mind control over spiritual belief. Now, this makes sense in light of the numerous programs that the government was running in the MK programs, mind control for short, MK Ultra, MK Often, MK Search, MK Chitwit. We can keep going. Collins' elite believed that UFO encounters already included memory implants, screen memories, automatic writings.
Did they? I don't know about this. I'm gonna present it right there. Collins' elite believed that these encounters definitely were spiritual. Some of them had some strange beliefs about it, but I don't think everyone did believe all this stuff.
Revelations, this was all aimed at advancing the enemy's theology. They were concerned about cultural and theological infiltration, media, new spiritual movements, contactee literature that preaches alien peace theology as a parallel or even replacement for Christianity. They feared the idea of soft disclosure used as a Trojan horse. Instead of dramatic landings, the aliens would be introduced gradually, first via anomalies like we see on TV, then public acknowledgement, finally religious assimilation. The Collins elite warned that the final deception is complete once people accept UFO religion as dogma. It would signal the final nail in the coffin. The good news is that the Collins elite had plans to stop this from happening, or at least to fight it. They'd distribute internal papers to sympathetic generals and scientific advisors explaining the demonic model.
All right, now think about this for a second. This is very important because I'm going to show you proof about this now. So, by the way, before I do, we're creating a website called Collins Elite. I purchased the domain collinselite.org, and we're gonna try to set the record straight about this before it all tumbles out of control. Because you have people like Lou Elizondo going around saying, "I don't agree with the Collins Elite. I don't believe my leadership was doing the right thing." The people deserve to know the truth, and so we're one of the projects of the site. This stuff takes time and takes money. I have a webmaster that's putting this stuff together, and it's going to be collinselite.org. It's not up yet, but we're going to be working on that, as well as a sharing pocketbook that's coming out here pretty soon. Lots happening. But that's all part of it. This is let's see if I got this next thing. Remember how in that he said they're concerned that a new religion will be formed? That's fascinating, because that same book that I'm reading, The Great Controversy, says that exact same thing. A new religion will be formed. Let me show you the quote. This quote says this. We're going to get down to the orange part, but it says, when they have been led to believe that the dead actually return to communicate with them, they claim to be happy in heaven and even occupy exalted positions there. This is what these things claim to be. And thus the error is widely taught that there's no difference between the righteous and the wicked. The pretended visitants from the world of the spirits sometimes utter cautions and warnings which prove to be correct. Then as confidence is gained, they present doctrines which directly undermine faith in the scriptures. With an appearance of deep interest in the well-being of their friends on earth, there are bad things happening. Bad things are coming. You have to listen to us. Otherwise, something bad might happen to you. That's the same thing Roger Morneau just said. Demon spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant galaxies, coming to Earth to explain the utter destruction of the planet unless something proper is done to avoid it. This is the same thing she's saying. They said that the interest of the well-being of their friends on Earth, they insinuate the most dangerous errors. The fact that they state some truths and are able to, at times, foretell the future events gives their statements the appearance of reliability, and their false teachings are accepted by the multitude as readily and believed implicitly as if they were the most sacred truths of the Bible. Now, this is the doctrines that are going to be presented by these things. This is amazing. The law of God is set aside. I kind of figured that. The spirit of grace despised. Well, if you're going to kill Christians over something, you definitely want to get rid of grace. Otherwise, you might grace them to death, and then they won't die. So this is a bad thing that's happening if you get rid of grace, because you're getting rid of any type of help for those who are the righteous. Spirit of grace is despised. The blood of the covenant counted as an unholy thing, so they are very upset with Christ. The Spirit deny the deity of Christ and place even the Creator on a level with themselves. We are your creators. We've been watching you for a long time. This is a prevalent and well-known topic that they talk about over and over again if you go into some of these UFO religions. Raelism, specifically, is a big one. Thus, under the new disguise, the great rebel still carries on his warfare against God, begun in heaven, and for nearly 6,000 years continued upon this earth. If you haven't read this book, email me, bradley@strangenormal.org. I'll send one to you for free. It's a great book, Great Controversy, it's called. Okay, so that's one thing that's provable, but I want to show you something else as well. And it's coming up after this clip. This is Lou Elizondo saying, hey, I was contacted by the Collins Elite. He doesn't say the Collins Elite in this specific clip, but he talks about his religious leaders. Listen to this.
Were they, because of that, was there any proactive suppressing or limiting of how much you could do because of that?
Sure. I had to be very careful. I really had to operate in the shadows more than ever. I was used to doing it because of my job, but I wasn't used to running operations, inside my own organization. But that's what we had to wind up doing, because there were people that were certainly against this effort, and only because of, again, their philosophical belief system. I had nothing to do. In fact, I had one. I remember the conversation very well. This is a person I respected tremendously, very, very senior person. He's told me, he said, Lou, I want you to stop doing this. I said, okay, sir, I certainly can, but may I ask why? And he says, well, we already know what it is. Now, at that moment, I honestly thought maybe it was our own technology. I was running up against some super uber secret sap, and they were telling me to stop. And I said, okay, sir, so it's ours? And he said, no, that's not what I'm saying. And he said, he asked me point blank, have you read your Bible lately? And I wasn't quite sure where he was going with that. And I said, well, sir, I think I know what it says. Where are you going with this? And he said, well, then you would know that these things are demonic and we should not be pursuing them. Yeah. And he wasn't kidding. That's exactly how he felt.
So this is a Pentagon. This is a Department of Defense official saying, stop looking at UFOs because they're demonic.
Correct.
But if something demonic is flying over our skies, wouldn't religious people want to fight them?
Well, I think, look, I think no matter what it is, we need to figure it out. And, there was a time, and this is, look, I'm a religious person, but, there was a time where the church wouldn't even look through the telescope of Galileo because it conflicted with their narrative, only to, years later, them to come out and actually now, use the grandeur of the universe to support their philosophical and theological belief system. So I am under the presumption that more data is good. And I don't think we should ever be fearful of data.
Not fearful of data, man. We're fearful of things that we can't control. If they're breaking physics, they can, there's something else in this universe that's holding them in check. And that's the great court case, the great controversy between God and Satan, the celestial court that is saying, no, you don't have the ability to touch these people right now. These things are powerful beings. And I'm not scared of the data. Take data on them all you want. Just don't communicate with them. Don't have anything to do with them. That's how we got into this mess. And I'm not going to that tree again to talk to this thing. That's just how this works. All right. What's up here? All right. So let's figure out what happens with the Collins Elite. How do they decide to fix it? Well, that's essentially what they're trying to do. They talk to their employees about it, like they did with Lou Elizondo.
They encouraged doctrinal seminars in defense circles and trained officers to be spiritually discerning. Now, some Collins Elite members believed in fighting fire with fire. The use of counter-ritual, prayer, exorcism, protective sigils, even spiritual wards. Not just intelligence tactics. They tried to recruit Christian ministers with occult experience to partner with military intelligence to nullify these spiritual incursions. The Collins Elite monitored contactees and spiritual movements to identify doctrine that might hide demonic influence. They infiltrated New Age groups and flagged narratives that promoted alien theology.
Okay, so that's what they did to try to get rid of this thing. They said, look, let's pray about it. Let's talk about it. Let's get rid of it. Let's tell people what we've seen about it. Everything you can to get rid of it. It's a noble cause. And so remember that these heathen deities, they want to appear, but they can't without our permission. So this is what this is what we are up against. This is the next slide I have on this. It says here, for false Christs and false prophets, this is Matthew 24:24, will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. Matthew 24:24. And evangelism, this is another great quote. As we near the end of time, there will be a greater and still greater external parade of heathen power. Heathen deities will manifest their signal power and will exhibit themselves before the cities of the world. False Christs, heathen deities. That's what's coming. And so the sharing book that we have is going to talk about this. It's going to talk about the 1,000 years of peace that is not on earth. It's going to be in heaven. It's going to talk about the state of the dead. It's going to talk about all this stuff that's coming down the line. It's going to be a lot of truth, and it's going to be very important. So that's something to watch out for. We're going to have on this program here. So what's next? Well, The new universal religion. That's what's coming. Let me show you.
A uniform day of rest for American workers is also on the list.
Remember?
An idea that would build upon blue laws that limit alcohol sales in some states.
Imagine. So you have all these things that they're pushing this idea down the hatch. And what if they're so concerned about this alien thing in the government that they push the idea of let's all get back and all worship God together because there is a real demon problem on this earth right now. And what if they push everyone into a day of rest that is not correct?
We recognize that one of the most important aspects of being human is not only working hard and working diligently, but having a day set apart where you can unplug from the regular grind of the work week and simply be present to rest, to be with your family, to worship if you're a religious person, and to really reconnect with yourself and with your values.
Waters hopes the federal government will seriously consider these recommendations as a way to refocus politics around saving and supporting the American family.
There is simply no greater good to invest in, and that should be our top priority.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Obviously, I presented this clip at the very beginning to show that there was something happening. But now you can see how it can easily integrate into everything else. All because, hey, we need to get back because of the terrible disasters that are happening, because of the bloodshed, because of the fear and everything that's happening in the earth right now. We should probably get back to the Lord. And that's what's going to push it all into that agenda. We have an idea, we have a possibility to really get behind and do something before something big like this happens. This is my plea to you. Laura Trump actually talked about this a little bit. She says, by the way, I believe that I have heard that Donald Trump, the president of the United States, actually has something coming up about this. Is that true? I don't know, but let's see what she has to say about it.
Laura Trump was on her podcast, and someone asked her about it, and this is what she said.
Next question. What do you or the president know about UFOs? Can you share? I hear that the president has something in the queue to share with us about all of this. Now, truth be told, I'm trying to remember how long ago it was. It may have been right after he left office, after the first term. I remember Eric being like, all right, what can you tell us? And he was a little hesitant to give us any real info, which makes me think like he's got a lot of info out there and he's waiting for the right time to drop it. And maybe this is going to be the time, because I keep seeing all these stories about how he's got some like UFO speech that he's got queued up, and we all should just kind of sit back and wait. Now, here's the thing I'll say. What do I know about UFOs? What I know is that our universe is so enormous. It actually, if I start thinking about it, it makes me a little crazy. You think about just our solar system, okay?
It's like everyone was given the same soundbite. Hey, the facts came in, and everyone was given it to it, because every man, I should make a little video that shows everyone saying the exact same thing. Our universe is so big, there's no way we can't be without intelligent life.
And then you think about how many solar systems like ours are in our galaxy. And then you think about how many galaxies are in this universe. The whole thing is just, it's kind of like mind-boggling. So the idea that the only form of intelligent life out there is us, that we're like twerking on TikTok and stuff, that's it. I don't know. I find it hard to believe. I fully believe that there's other life out there throughout the universe. And if you look at some of the like prophets, these are people hundreds of years ago, or I don't even know how long ago. A lot of them say that sometime soon we're supposed to have some sort of an interaction with another form of life from outside of our planet. So I don't know. I fully believe there's more out there. I think it would be a heck of a waste of space if it's just us here and we're doing like dumb challenges and again, like just twerking on TikTok. There's got to be more out there.
Oh man, we're in for it. This is all planned up. And even the Mirror picked this up. I'll read you a little bit of it. Actually, I'll have someone else read you
This one coming from the Mirror. Donald Trump's UFO bombshell speech ready to go, as insiders now say it's a matter of urgency. Donald Trump may already have prepared a speech in which he will publicly disclose decades of alleged UFO and extraterrestrial evidence, ufologist Mark Christopher Lee has claimed. So fresh claims have emerged suggesting that President Donald Trump may be preparing to deliver a bombshell speech revealing decades of alleged UFO evidence to the public. Claims originate from Mark Christopher Lee, a British writer, director, producer, and self-described ufologist who says he was informed by an advisor to the Trump administration that Trump has received permission from fellow world leaders to make an official announcement regarding unidentified flying objects. An advisor to the Trump administration told me the president has been given authority by the other major world leaders to make this announcement, Lee told the Daily Mail. According to Lee, the address would expose the truth behind decades of evidence concerning unexplained aerial phenomena, materials recovered from alleged crash sites, and military eyewitness accounts that he maintains bear no resemblance to any known human technology.
I got to tell you, folks, I don't believe it. I think that they're probably someone has stated this, and there's no evidence to back it up. Actually, I do know who stated this, and it was some guy, Mark Christopher Lee, I forget his name, but he said that he has a source. And so this is why I don't give a lot of credit to things like this. I don't know if anything's going to happen this year. I do think that Bledsoe has something coming down the pipe. I do think that this is going to happen, but I also believe that we have good angels that are prepared to thwart the enemy's attacks. In other words, if it's not ready and God says no, it's not going to happen, and he's not going to be too thrilled with Satan trying to present himself as, I'm going to happen at this time, as a prophecy, because only God knows prophecy. And if he looks legit like he can prophesy when something's going to happen, then he will look more like God. So I'm sure that good angels behind the scenes are working to make sure that nothing's going to happen in September or April or whatever other dates have been set for 2026 and 2027, as we've heard on this channel. I don't believe it. I don't believe these dates are going to come to pass as they have. Do I believe it's going to happen? Yeah, something's going to happen big. It's just not going to happen when they say it's going to happen, because all these things are lying spirits. Okay, so this is where this source came from.
I was contacted last night by an insider from Washington, D.C., from the Trump administration, who told me basically that President Trump has already written his speech, his statement that he will give about UFO disclosure this year.
And it goes on and on and on. I'm not going to play the whole thing because he basically says the same thing over and over again. And then he has another video that he says it's happening on a specific date. When you're dealing with this stuff, it's all hype. And what happens is you get a lot of followers out of this stuff. It's the same thing with Candace Owens. Whether you believe her or not, she's become one of the biggest podcasters because people want to know what's going to happen. They're curious about what's going to happen in the future. And it doesn't lend itself to be a very good topic to talk about if you're trying to just to be legit and talk about stuff that's actually going to make sense. Fanaticism sells. And that's not what I'm trying to do on this YouTube program. So it would help me a lot if you would hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and share this with your social media, with your friends, with your email, with your Facebook groups, because I think this is an important program that everyone should see. And it's a very, very, very timely program because things are about to happen. They're about to change, and it's going to happen real fast. And you want to be that one who says, hey, I told you. Not the one who has the neighbors that come to you and say, you knew this stuff and you didn't tell us? Why? Why didn't you tell us? We can't do anything about it now. Wouldn't that be sad? Wouldn't it make your heart just ache inside of you that you could have done something too? Friends, it seems as if we have time, but we don't. In the grand scheme of things are going to wrap up pretty quick. And so if you aren't ready, it's real easy to get ready. All you have to do is say, God, I'm sorry. I want to do better. Please help me. I repent. Repentance isn't just saying you're sorry. It's putting away the things that cause you to stumble as well. And so if that's you, you can be righteous again in that respect. because Christ will cover you with his righteousness if you say this prayer with me. Let's pray. Father God, forgive me for my sins. Forgive me of the things I've done wrong. Guide me and help me not to sin again. Give me purpose for you in my life and help me to share you with others. In your loving name, in Jesus' name, amen. There you go. You're a new person. You are now someone that can stand before the throne of God and not have to think, I am a sinner. You have been covered. But God is with you still, and he's changing you while you're still alive into someone that can be translated to heaven without seeing death. Keep working with them, because things are going to wrap up soon. And I know, we're all going to see each other in heaven. We're going to go, remember that strange time we had on earth? All that strange stuff that was happening? We now understand it. That's all I have for you tonight, folks. And so this has been a very strange night, and it's going to continue to be very strange next week. I'll try to get some more videos up on YouTube. But until then, my name is Bradley, and this has been pure strangeness and absolute normalcy. Strange normal. We'll see you next time.
You're watching Strange Normal, where the truth is the truth.